Our opening words this morning were written by Margaret Weiss. Come into this place with your whole self, the parts that are raw and exposed, the part that is beaming joy, the part that is seeking the truth, the new, and the possibility. Come into this place, open your heart, lay down your burden, and lift up your hope for something new to happen. Come into this place with fellow travelers on the journey, some faces new and familiar, and all welcoming you here, now, to this moment. Come, let us worship together. Welcome, everyone, to Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church and our ninth Annual Festivus service. Can you believe it? 9! I am Jennifer Bacmeister, a member of the congregation here and your worship leader today. I came to Buckman Bridge over 20 years ago seeking a church home that would support my quest for understanding the various yet universal truths that surround all of us. I did not know at that time that my religious path would include Festivus. But it's all part of learning to be open to the wonders of the world and life around us. I hope you find what you are looking for today and in all of the seasons to come. Today's service will be a bit different than most of our other services, although none of our services are ever the same. We will be celebrating Festivus throughout the service this morning, although all your favorite worship elements are still in there. If you are here today for the first or first-ish time, we're so glad you are here and hope you'll stay with us for fellowship after the service. You'll find coffee, other beverages, and snacks at the pass-through windows in the back of the sanctuary. It's an excellent chance to make new friends and share conversation. Please stop by our welcome table at the entryway if you haven't already done so. You can create a name tag so we can warmly welcome you by your name. You can also find information on our church and our denomination. We have regularly scheduled Learn About UU and Learn About BBUUC classes year-round. And if you have any questions or needs, please don't hesitate to ask any of our members. They can help you or they can point you to who can help you. Our youth will stay in the service today instead of going to religious education. If you have the littlest of the little ones, the nursery is open, or you can take advantage to the wiggle room off to your left, my right. At this time, I ask that you silence your electronic devices. You don't want your ringing phone to be the subject of an upcoming grievance. For the Seinfeld fans with us today, you probably already know what Festivus is. If you have attended this church for 9 years, you probably already know what our version of Festivus is. This is, after all, the 9th one. If you haven't been here for any of those services, Festivus is a made-up holiday that was first described to the public in an episode of Seinfeld called The Strike that first aired in 1997. Now, for some of you, that's like pre your time, but we had color television in 1997. Frank Costanza supposedly came up with the holiday after getting into a fist fight with another man over a doll during Christmas shopping and becoming jaded by the commercialism of the Christmas holiday. For Seinfeld writer Dan O'Keefe, his family actually did celebrate Festivus, although it was nothing like the version on the show. O'Keefe described the origins of Festivus as an invention of his father, who was a high-functioning yet severe alcoholic and likely suffering from undiagnosed bipolar disorder. There was a vague reference to the celebration being on the anniversary of the first date with O'Keefe's mother, but that's actually never been verified. Dan O'Keefe said, "It was a holiday that was unique to our family, that was ostensibly a strength, and it didn't have a set date. In real life, it could just happen whenever. One year there were 2 for some reason. One year there was none. You never knew when it was coming." Kind of like the idea of stealth Festivus. And unlike the fictional Festivus, in real life there was no pole. There was a nail that O'Keefe's father hammered into the wall in the early 70s, and every year he put a clock into a bag and he hung it on the wall. And the symbol of the holiday was a clock and a bag for some reason. And there was a poem that referred to clock and bag, and it was rhymed, 4-line stanzas with a very complicated rhyme scheme, and it was very peculiar. O'Keeffe had long buried memories of his family's Festivus, which was supposedly patterned after the Roman Saturnalia and some of the other holidays of antiquity, when he was at a party in LA with his brothers. And he says, quote, "My loudmouth younger brother opens his yap and mentions this weird family holiday called Festivus. And I'm a writer on Seinfeld at the time, and a couple of my coworkers are there, and they're instantly all around me. Wait, excuse me? What is this?" And I tried to explain it as calmly as I could and then turn the topic away. But Dan's attempt to dissuade his coworkers failed. And the far more whimsical and far less depressing TV version of Festivus has changed the world. Can you see them all standing around a Hollywood party and his brother's talking crap? He's like, shh, 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 shh. And his coworker's like, yeah, what? Wait, okay, tell me more. But the holiday has changed everywhere. Literally, there are people all over the world who celebrate Festivus. There is an actual published book you can buy. I should see if it's in the library for next year. And an active website all dedicated to explaining the origins of Festivus and the proper way to observe the rituals. And I air quote, proper, because everybody can do it their own way. There's also a blog with some handy Festivus tips, which I'll share with you as we go along. Festivus rituals include the Airing of Grievances, Feats of Strength, the Recitation of Festivus Miracles, and a traditional dinner of meatloaf and spaghetti. I was initially saddened to have to tell you that we are not having meatloaf and spaghetti during coffee hour today. We didn't have it last year, and we haven't had it the previous 8 years, and I know you were going to be horribly disappointed. So John Wrightington has brought us meatloaf stuffed pasta shells instead. Also, this last Friday, just 2 days ago, I know you already know this, it was National Fruitcake Day. I know you all celebrated, right? Yeah, of course you did. So there will also be fruitcake today, straight from the finest fruitcake manufacturer in all the world, Claxton Fruitcake Company. And there's a lot of other snacks back there, so everybody needs to eat probably half your body weight in snacks this morning. Just the volume out there is incredible. And before you become too concerned about the potentially rowdy nature of the Festivus rituals, just know we have adjusted them this morning in the interest of both time and good taste, or good enough taste. This is a family-friendly Festivus. It is also a participatory holiday. Later on, you will have a chance to share your Festivus miracles with the congregation. A Festivus miracle is any instance of routine happenstance that you can attribute to the season. For example, my grandson opened his Christmas presents and nothing needed batteries. It's a Festivus miracle. Start thinking of your miracles now. You will also have an opportunity to air your grievances, and I'll share more details on that in a little while. Perhaps the best known icon of modern Festivus is the Festivus pole. Traditionally, an unadorned aluminum pole with no branches, lights, or tinsel, because tinsel is distracting. Its true purpose is to remind us that the holiday is not about things. It's not about buying gifts or hanging shiny lights or the distraction of stuff over concepts. Also, Frank Costanza liked the weight to strength ratio of aluminum. And I say, if you're going to create a new holiday with new icons, why not factor in some useful engineering properties? Ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, I present to you BBUUC's Festivus Pole. And I'll share with you the first tip from the Festivus blog. Your Festivus pole shouldn't cost very much and should never require maintenance. However, there are a few pointers that should be followed when using a Festivus pole. First, Don't let any guests climb the Festivus pole. 2, a Festivus pole is not a dancing pole. During the Feats of Strength, we will not allow anyone to joust with the Festivus pole. If you want to joust, go to Orlando. They have medieval times. If you use your pole outdoors in below zero temperatures, not likely here in Florida, don't let anyone lick the pole. It's tempting, but don't let them do it. That's a whole nother service with a whole nother movie and pop culture reference to it. And that's your first tip for Festivus. I will ask John Wrightington to come forward and play with fire as we do the Chalice Illumination, which was written by Julianne Lepp. We seek our place, not that one, this one. Don't like that one. There we go. We seek our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be open to unexpected answers. May the light of our chalice remind us that this is a community of warmth, of wisdom, and welcoming multiple truths. Thank you, John. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our call to worship. The words are printed in your order of service. As a creedless church, as a creedless faith, we're a creedless church too. The members of this church are joined together in a covenantal relationship. Each congregation of the UUA chooses how to express this covenant, and each Sunday we speak the words of our covenant together, both as a reminder and an expression of our faith in and with our fellow congregants. If you would, please recite the covenant with me this morning. The words are in your order of service. We covenant to engage one another with honesty, kindness, and respect, to value diversity, seek understanding of our differences, and practice gracious accountability with care, love, and empathy. We make these promises to those who are here and those yet to come, so that we may be a safe, welcoming, and beloved community of acceptance, learning, and transformation. And now I will invite our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, Beth Curtis, to the pulpit for this time for all ages.
Merry Christmas! No? Now, you may be saying Christmas has come and gone, but did you know in the old days that the Christmas holiday lasted 12 days? You see, it took the wise men 12 days to travel before they arrived to see the baby Jesus. And people started celebrating those 12 days, which ends on January 6th, which is also known as King's Day or Epiphany. And hey, does anybody else notice that that sheep is just devilishly handsome? People started celebrating the 12 days of Christmas, also known as 12-tide or Christmastide, in the 5th century. And for over 1,200 years, really up until the 1700s, December 25th, Christmas Day, was known as the beginning of a 12-day-long crazy Christmas party. You see, back then, during the 4 weeks before Christmas, known as Advent, most Christians fasted to one extent or another, which means they limited the food that they ate in religious observance. But once Christmas rolled around, the fasting ended and they basically feasted for 12 whole days. And as time went on, more and more traditions and rituals were added to the 12-tide celebrations. The first feast after Christmas was on the very next day, on December 26th, and was called the Feast of St. Stephen. Yes, as in, good King Wenceslas looked out on the Feast of Stephen. In the song, King Wenceslas goes out into the cold night with a servant, and they deliver food and firewood to a man in need. And you might guess St. Stephen and his feast both represent the spirit of charity. This was definitely a precursor to what later became known as Boxing Day on December 26th in Great Britain. A few weeks ago, we heard about the tradition of wassailing. That is, people going door to door, singing Christmas carols and getting food, a warm beverage, or even a few coins in return for singing. Well, a lot of wassailing went on during 12-tide, or the 12 days of Christmas. In fact, they added a little more merriment to the celebration by dressing in costumes as they wassailed. The act of disguising oneself, dressing in fantastical costumes to dance and sing during the winter holidays, was called mumming or mummering, and the dancers and singers were called mummers. The mummers disguised themselves as animals and also participated in a lot of hijinks, like dressing in garments that suggested role reversal, which I'll tell you about in just a moment. Mumming traditions go on today, especially in Great Britain, with parades and mumming plays, as you see here. And for whatever reason, they usually were about, I think that's St. George and the Dragon. A lot of them are about him. To this day in Philadelphia, they have the Mummers' Day Parade on New Year's Day. I lived in Philly for a few years, and it really is pretty amazing and extremely under the radar for most people. But back to the oldie times. On January 1st, New Year's Day, the 8th day of Christmas, they celebrated the Feast of Fools, when oftentimes two people of different stations in life, say the lord of a manor and his servant, would dress up as one another in a role reversal. So maybe a lord would dress up as the servant, and the servant dress up as the lord. In France, the clergy of the church would switch places with the children at the choir, and the children would lead the church services and run the church for a day or two. Now, this image depicts a young boy, although it looks like a girl. I assure you they were all boys, who was appointed bishop for the day. Gender expression was also oftentimes reversed in the name of revelry. Men and some women could freely cross-dress during 12-tide. That is, men could wear dresses and wigs, and women could wear pants. And I think if for no other reason, this might have been a really great holiday. All of this frivolity really came to a head on the night of January 5th, which was also known as Twelfth Night. It marked the night before the Epiphany, or the last day of Christmas. If you recognize the name Twelfth Night, that might be because it is also the name of a famous play by William Shakespeare. Shakespeare would have lived during the time when the 12 days of Christmas was celebrated. and he incorporated the party-type permissive atmosphere of 12-tide into his comedy. Now, this casting from 2013 features Mark Rylance playing Olivia, who later plays a man in the story to woo a woman for the man she actually loves. And we thank Bill Shakespeare for teaching us all about the 12 days of Christmas. The last day of Christmas, known as King's Day or Epiphany, is oftentimes associated with a delicious tradition called King's Cake. This, the French version, galette de roi, is the best of them all, I swear. Most King's Cakes feature a surprise baked inside, which started with a little dried bean, but now sometimes has a little plastic baby Jesus or a ring. The person who found the bean hidden in their piece of cake would be crowned the king of misrule, the king or queen of the party, like this guy. But nowadays, it's thought to bring good fortune. Now, honestly, I am not sure how they celebrated 12 actual days of Christmas. It looks absolutely exhausting. But I love it. Now, as you may have guessed by now, I'm a person who's fascinated by traditions, and I love to explore their history and how traditions morph over time into new traditions, like the annual fruitcake tosses around our country. We're in an age where our traditions are changing, and that's okay, because we're also in an age where we can choose what traditions to hold on to and what traditions to change and how. Like my husband and I have been known to exchange our Christmas gifts on New Year's Day or even the Epiphany because we found our celebration together got swallowed up by the hubbub of Christmas Day. Doing that made the experience richer and more meaningful for us. And that's how to tailor tradition in a positive way. I love that we enjoy our traditional Festivus celebration every year. Festivus does everything that traditions are supposed to do. Jennifer makes Festivus such a fun way to connect with one another across generations. On Festivus, we hold space to share in the ritual of airing our grievances as well as our miracles together. We share as a community in this event with its ritual, with its silliness, its games, and its song. Festivus helps build bonds between us and make our lives, our experience here, all the richer. And that's what tradition should be all about. So merry 12-tide if you're celebrating, and happy Festivus. Thank you.
And it wouldn't be Festivus if we didn't have some special music. Lynn Wadley is going to play her saw today with Pete Jorgensen on piano. And they're going to do Crazy by Willie Nelson, but Lynn has written lyrics just for Buttman Bridge, so listen closely. And if you're not familiar with the saw as a musical instrument, you are in for a treat. Lynn wants us to know that a saw has its own opinion about each song, so she will be as entertained as the rest of us as she plays Crazy with Pete. Go ahead.
It just depends on what kind of a mood the saw is in. If it wants to sing, it will. We never know what's going to happen. Okay, Mr. Piano Man. I was crazy, crazy from feeling so lonesome, nearly crazy, crazy from being so blue. I knew I loved to look for my church. Then Finally I found BBUU, but I always forget about the C. Don't worry, you'll feel at home in a hurry. You'll find right from the start food for your mind and your soul and your heart and your tummy. Potluck and coffee and cookies and sometimes fruitcake too. No more crazy crying, crazy sighing when you're crazy about you. C, I always forget about the C on the end of that BBUU. And you're gonna lead me into it. Thank you, Mr. Piano Man. I'm ready. No more crazy and crying, no more crazy and sighing. We're just crazy for BBUU. Thank you. Thank you, Pete.
Don't go home and try that with the saw out of your shop, because it's actually a musical instrument. It's not just the one that she got at Lowe's yesterday.
It could be,
because I tried that and it doesn't work, but
it just takes a little more.
oh, I'm not good enough at it. Okay, I'll try next year. Here's another Festivus tip for everybody. When Festivus is near, always be on the lookout for Festivus Miracles. Did a parking spot open up right in front of you? Did the candy machine drop 2 Twix bars when you only paid for 1? Did your fear of clowns give you an excuse for skipping a trip to the circus with the kids? These all count. And even though Festivus is a secular holiday, there's no harm in recognizing the amazing things that happen to each of us every day, seemingly without our direct influence. I like to think of it as divine intervention. If divinity, though, is not your cup of tea, consider that every once in a while the universe churns around in such a manner that it creates a minor benevolence towards you. Divine or chaotic, to me, that's worth celebrating. I will now invite each of you to come forward and share any Festivus miracles you may have experienced. Remember, these are ordinary occurrences made miraculous by the wonder of the season. To ensure everyone will be able to share, please keep your recitation to a brief statement. That means like 2 sentences. We don't need a paragraph. Just tell us what it was. The congregation will join in ending each statement with, It's a Festivus Miracle. So I'm going to let you practice. Here's some that were on the website. The milk was expired, but still tasted good on my cereal. It's a Festivus Miracle. The arm waving is totally on you. That's just a me thing. That's not required. You can if you want to. Let's do one more before we start from the congregation. My boss didn't call me at all while I was on vacation. It's a Festivus Miracle. All right. I know we had people coming up front. Where'd you go? Microphone right there. Come on. Come on. Let's make sure it's on. Step right up. Is it live? It's live. Go. Right there, Carl. Tell us your miracle.
I had 2 miracles this year. One was a 70-year-old train that I had not, and it goes around the tree, that I had not hooked up for 15 years. And guess what? It ran the first time. Yeah, the first time.
It's a Festivus Miracle!
And then while unpacking the train, I found 20 White House Christmas ornaments that I thought I had lost.
It's a Festivus Miracle!
My stepdad is impossible to buy Christmas gifts for. He has to tell you exactly what he wants so that you can buy him a gift that he wants. This year, he told everybody he didn't want anything, but I didn't get the memo. So, and I also was frustrated, so I didn't even ask him what he wanted. I bought him a belt. He opened it up. He needed a belt.
It's a Festivus Miracle!
So, Christmas Eve, someone lost their phone, and through the efforts of you don't know how many people, they got their phone back.
It's a Festivus Miracle! Are you circling, young man? Come on. Oh, he's thinking. All right, Beth's got one while you think.
I hate shopping online because you never really know what you're getting. You have to read the fine print. And I bought 6 cat toys for all of the cat-owning members in my family. And they didn't have catnip on them. And it was really disappointing. But you know what? Cats love the paper that it was wrapped in.
It's a Festivus Miracle! I can't wait to hear what Joaquin has to say when he gets to it. Go ahead, Lee.
Dave and I got a huge bill that had to do with that fence repair, and we were really bummed out. And then the city sent us a return on our investment, and we had just enough to cover it.
It's a Festivus Miracle! All right, Joaquin, go ahead, John. You come on, Joaquin.
Competing with Joaquin is difficult. I live in a rental house because, well, a lot of you know Flames on the old one. So I've been getting a lot of mail for other occupants that used to live in the house. Some of them annoyingly so. But on Christmas Eve, Chewy box shows up at my front door, and I haven't ordered Chewy for a while, and it's cat toys that came to one of the previous tenants. So I called up Amazon to tell them, or Chewy to tell them that, I need to return this. How do I do it? And they went, oh, just keep it. It's like $300 worth of cat toys. So talk to me later.
And an Amazon screw up. Come on, Joaquin. Oh, you got it, John? Thank you, John.
My mom was gonna order a praying mantis, and I didn't know it ordered it, so I pressed the button 2 times, so I got 2.
Oh, yeah.
I think we can do this.
There we go.
This is just a little adjunct to what Beth was saying about the 7 days of
12 days of Christmas. I'm from New Orleans, and we used to celebrate the king cake tradition, right? You all know about that. So when you're in 6th grade, you go to school, and you start having the king cake parties. And the first king, and the way it worked was that whoever got the little doll or the bean, they were the king, and they had to throw the party the next week. So I go to the party, and before I go to the party, my dad pulls me aside and said, listen, you get that damn bean, you swallow it. I ain't paying for no king cake party.
My car wouldn't start, and it wasn't something simple like the battery. It turned out to be the fuse.
All right, anybody got a last-minute dose of courage to come air your group? Excellent. Come on up.
My mother purchased only the gifts for the children that I asked her to buy.
That's excellent. Excellent. Come on, come on.
I recently just moved into my first house with a couple roommates, and it came with a tree, a Christmas tree out in the shed, so that was good.
It's a Festivus miracle. That might be a 2-holiday miracle. That might be a Christmas miracle, too. You got a twofer. That's pretty good. Does anybody else have a miracle they'd like to share? Excellent, excellent. We now move on to the next ritual, the airing of grievances. The airing of grievances is an opportunity for each person at the Festivus party to tell any other person to their face how that person has disappointed the grievant in the previous year. As Frank said, I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're going to hear about it. This seems somewhat dangerous to me. And if it doesn't ignite a 5-alarm family brawl, it's sure to set off some simmering discontent. Maybe if just enough eggnog or far too much eggnog has been enjoyed, this works well for a Festivus party. And according to the Festivus website, keep in mind, the version of the airing of grievances depicted in Seinfeld is fictitious. Just because you saw it on TV doesn't mean it's real. Can a person really get away with telling their friends and family all the ways they've disappointed them in the past year? Probably not. There would likely be hurt feelings and repercussions. It can be a fun gag to consider such an action, but you must tread lightly if you want to put it into practice. So with this in mind, try and keep your grievances lighthearted. After all, it's Festivus, not an intervention. Just to make sure we don't hurt any feelings this morning, let's lay a few ground rules. First, leave out any names. You can call people names, just don't call out their name. Use generics like my friend or my boss or my neighbor. If you're griping about Starbucks or Walmart, though, feel free to use the name of a faceless corporation. Second, please keep your grievance short. We don't need the whole story. Just tell us who upset you and let the next person speak. Third, bear in mind, we do have children in the sanctuary this morning, so watch the colorful language, please. And I'm talking to you kids. None of this skibbity Ohio Riz business. It's not mewing. Don't do it. Call into mind now some person or people who have grieved you this past year. Feel free to come to the microphone and share your beef and enjoy the cathartic effects of airing your grievances. And as you formulate your grievance and make your way up to the front, let me share with you some of the 2024 grievances that were posted on the Festivus web blog. Wendy's grievance was people who driving at night with their lights off. And it seems to be the same people who don't use their turn signals. What are they doing? Trying to conserve light bulbs? Anonymous wrote, I don't have anything against Ted Danson, but a lot of his characters are irritating as friction. A presumably different Anonymous posted, a McDonald's Big Mac is now the size of a White Castle slider. In Florida, we call those crystals. There's nothing big about it, just rename it Mac. And yet another anonymous succinctly stated, "My vacuum cleaner sucks because it doesn't suck." So if you have a grievance you'd like to come forward and air, please approach the microphone. Remember, please keep it brief, keep it clean, and feel the wonderful effect of airing your grievances. Excellent, Mr. Chappell.
So, as much as I love my dog, we've had him for about 6 years now, and he's really big and bossy and ornery. And apparently I can only open the door the right way. Nobody else in my house can. And if I wait for him, he never comes back in. If I sit down, he waits till I get comfortable, then he comes back in. In all of his 6 years, he's figured out how to open the door plenty fine, but closing it, I don't know why he can't just close the door.
About 4 or 5 years ago, Chuck and I attended our first Festivus service, and one of you said that I think they lived out at the beach. They had made it all the way through 5 traffic lights without being stopped once. So the past 4 or 5 years, I've been counting traffic lights. I have never made it through 5, so I am really questioning the authenticity of that Festivus miracle.
I'd just be grieved at the light signals. Wouldn't that be easier?
Amazon gift bags. When you don't have time or you're shipping a gift, you can just click when you order something on Amazon and say, make it a gift. The problem is they're all the same color. So when you get to Christmas, there's a bunch of gifts that are all the same color, and they look like they're from the same person. Amazon.
Okay, my grievance for anyone who has to hire anyone, for the love of everything holy, stop using AI. Actually look at resumes.
I really thought AI would have been higher on the grievance list this year. Really, really thought that. Does anybody else have a grievance they just need to get off their chest this morning? No? And you can do this later on, too. But don't feel like this is the only place that you can air your grievance. Feel free to go home and tell the mirror or the dog or some other entity that can't talk back exactly how you feel, because you don't have to have a fight if they can't talk back. On Seinfeld, Festivus is Frank's reaction to the massive amounts of conspicuous consumption that for many people has become the reason for the season. We work here at BBUUC. Most of us are less about stuff and more about education, experience, and enlightenment. We work hard in our outreach and supportive efforts for those less fortunate in our community. In order to keep educating and experiencing and enlightening, though, we have to pay some bills. Our ushers, Bruce Crystal and Chuck Smithers, will collect the offering this morning. Even if you choose to donate online or in many of the other ways this modern world offers, I encourage you to take the plate and pass it to your neighbor when it comes to you. Not all the gifts we offer our community are tangible, and the ritual of passing the plate helps us remember that. At the completion of the offering, we'll rise in body or spirit and sing hymn 123, Spirit of Life. Festivus is not considered over until the final tradition takes place, the Feats of Strength. In the Seinfeld version, the head of the household can challenge any member at the party to wrestle him, and the feat is not complete until the head of the household has been pinned. The only way a selected opponent can defer the match is to have something better to do. In this post-COVID world, I'm pretty sure wrestling is not a great idea. And even if you don't mind sharing your germs with other people or theirs with you, wrestling in the sanctuary is not practical. So we're all going outside. No, I'm kidding. I'm guessing that even if we could wrestle, most of us would state we had something better to do. At this point, if you are willing and able, please stand up. We're not going outside, honest, just stand up. Everyone choose someone to engage in battle with. It can be the person next to you, behind you, any random person. It can be your family member. Now select your feat. In the olden days, the contest of choice was thumb wrestling. If you are challenging someone in your household and you still want to hold their hand, then of course, thumb wrestle. But for the love of vaccines, though, don't thumb wrestle a stranger today if that's not a good idea for you. For socially distanced feats of strength, you may choose rock, paper, scissors, or a good old-fashioned staring contest. When I say go, start your contest, and when you have lost, sit down. On your mark, get set, feats of strength. Okay, now if we had all day, we would continue challenging until we had the one, the most outstanding, the strongest person in the room named, but we don't have all day. There are cookies and coffee and fruitcake and meatball pasta bites waiting for us, so we won't. Maybe next year. Here's your final Festivus tip for the day. December 23rd, that's never happened. December 23rd may be the official day for celebrating Festivus, but you can celebrate Festivus anytime you like. After all, Festivus is about convenience. For example, if the kids are begging to go to the water park or your in-laws want to come over for a visit, tell them they can't because it's Festivus. Similarly, if your significant other tells you they're not in the mood to cook dinner, tell them it's a special occasion. It's Festivus. I want to thank each and every one of you this morning for a marvelous Festivus. Next year will be our 10th annual Festivus celebration, and that kind of milestone calls for dance numbers with a full chorus and even a celebrity. I'm not saying we'll get all that, but it's nice to have a dream, right? This morning, you, the mighty congregation of Buckman Bridge Unitarian Universalist Church, has acknowledged the Festivus poll. We shared the wonder of Festivus Miracles, we aired our grievances, and we completed our feats of strength. By the authority vested in me by the state of Florida, and with the power of my ancestors, I declare BBUUC's 9th annual Festivus service a complete success! It's a Festivus miracle! Please rise and body our spirit for our closing hymn and remain standing for the benediction. Our closing hymn is number 350, The Ceaseless Flow of Endless Time. I believe we do have song leaders here today, other than maybe just Vicki, but she can lead a song too. And in the last verse of this song, if you want to change New Year to Festivus, you can do that if it suits you. We're singing all the verses. I will ask John Wrightington, unless he's disappeared into, oh, there he is. Come on up. No, come on up to extinguish our chalice. Our benediction was written by Kate Landis, and it's called You Are Loved. I want you to know that you are loved beyond your wildest imaginings by the Spirit of creation. Every bit of you is holy, even the embarrassing parts, even the thoughts you wouldn't tell your best friend. God is in your every cell, calling you to live a loving, joyful, boisterous life. Go easier on yourself. Accept that you are a blessing. Spread the word that there is no original sin, that we are all glorious gifts to a world that desperately needs us. I want you to know that you are a strand in the web of all existence, one dewdrop spangled thread reflecting the early morning sun, connected to every other living creature, frogs, mushrooms, great blue whales, and you. You are never alone. You were born into a huge family of life. Sit in the grass and know that it is your sibling. Watch the crows circle and think of them as gossiping cousins. This is your world, and you are worthy. As you leave this place this morning, remember to honor what is important in your life, not just for Festivus or Christmas or Hanukkah or any other holiday, but all the days. Treat others with kindness, aware that you don't know what burdens they may be carrying, and release from your life that which weighs you down, and keep near you that which lifts you up. And once in a while, air your grievances and perform a feat of strength. Blessed be.